My name is Rafael, you're watching Rock and Roll Garage, and today I'm going to show you 5 bands that the late legendary Eddie Van Halen praised back in the 90s. But first, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave your comment. Well, let's start. The first one is Soundgarden. And he mentioned Soundgarden and all these bands in an interview with Rolling Stone magazine back in 1995, so it's quite interesting to see what his musical taste was like back then, what he was listening to. And the first one is Soundgarden, and this is what he said. I don't write like any of them, the bands mentioned it, either. I don't know where my shit comes from. I almost get into a meditative trance, but wherever it comes from, it does not sound like Pearl Jam or Soundgarden or anyone else. So this is what he said first about Soundgarden and Pearl Jam, which is another band. He mentioned it, and we're going to talk about them further. And it's interesting his connection with Chris Cornell, especially because they became good friends. And the curious thing is that they became good friends in the early thousands. And Eddie recorded a guitar part for a Chris Cornell solo song, but Cornell never put the vocals in it. So, I mean, he also died tragically before Eddie Van Halen. He sadly never laid the vocals in this track. And another interesting thing is that Alex Van Halen, the drummer of the band and Eddie's older brother, revealed in 2024 that they jammed with Cornell and they were thinking about doing something, but then a little bit later, sadly, Cornell died. This is what Alex said. Chris was in a very fragile part of his life, so to speak. I got behind the drums and he started playing bass. We played for 45 minutes. This motherfucker got so into it, he started bleeding. I said, this is the man you want. And then he died. This is what he recalled about this jam session with Cornell. And, you know, maybe we could have seen something really interesting with Van Halen and Cornell. Sadly, that never happened. Another thing that I forgot to mention, the song from Cornell's solo career, which Van Halen played a guitar part, should be on the 2009 Cornell solo album called Scream. Let's move to the second one, who is Peter Gabriel, and it's really interesting because we usually expect that a hard rock artist will listen to hard rock or heavier music, but he was a big fan of Peter Gabriel, and it's really touching to see, especially Wolfgang Van Halen, his son, talking about this experience he had with Eddie, his father, when he was still a kid, and Eddie came and he took the headphones, put in Wolf's head, and just played the classic Peter Gabriel song Red Rain. And he said that it was like they bonded with this song, and especially Peter Gabriel's album Soul, which Van Halen said a few times that it was the last record he ever bought in his life, and he was a big fan of that one. He talked, I said, about Wolfgang Van Halen, and he talked in an interview with Classic Rock a few years ago about this. This is what Wolfgang said. This is one of my favorite albums because it was one of my father's favorite albums of all time. I'll never forget him coming up to me one night with these huge headphones and going, "Wolf, put this on." And he put the headphones on my head and cranked the first song, Red Rain. The soundscape of it is incredible. Everybody should do that at least once in their life. Put an amazing pair of headphones and crank Red Rain. It's very hard to listen now my father is gone, but that album front to back is Peter Gabriel at his finest. Eddie also mentioned this album in an interview with Guitar Tricks Insider magazine a few years ago as one of his favorite albums of all time. And besides Red Rain, you got Don't Give Up, you got Mercy Street, Big Time, and In Your Eyes. What a great song too. And we reached Pure Jam. We already talked about them when I was talking about Soundgarden. And this is what he said about Pure Jam. He liked them, although he didn't knew at the time who the guitarists were. This is what he said to Rolling Stone. I like them, but the guitar playing in particular never really hit me. I like Pure Jam and Soundgarden, but I don't even know who are the guitarists. That obviously changed during the next years. He had the chance to meet the bands, Soundgarden. He had the chance to meet the guys from Pure Jam as well. And for example, Stone Gossard, who is one of the Pure Jam guitarists, is a huge fan of Eddie Van Halen. And he said once that he felt like Van Halen was the greatest live band that ever existed. He told this in an interview, Classic Rock, and he said, I knew Eddie Van Halen had been battling cancer for a long time, so I was shocked. But I wasn't totally shocked that he passed away. I don't think there was a better live music experience than Van Halen. Just in terms of hitting all the marks of bringing people together, totally joyous, groovy, lighthearted, whimsical. Van Halen were the greatest live rock band of all time. So that's what he said. And an interesting thing about these bands, obviously, they were just starting. I mean, by the time Eddie talked about them in this interview, Pearl Jam had released 10 in 1991, Versus in 1993, and Vitology in 1994. You know, three of their most famous albums, but they were only 3 albums, right? So I had the chance to hear them over the next years more. Let's go to another one, who is Tori Amos, and probably the one of the less known acts from this list. He was a big fan of her, and he said this in an interview with Steve Baltin in 2009, and this is what Eddie said. I love Tori Amos, not everything she does. He was really, he didn't talk a lot about her, but he loved her career. And if you don't know her, she's an American singer, keyboardist, and pianist who started her career in 1978, the same year as Van Halen, released their self-titled debut album. They started in 1972, but it was only in 78 they released the groundbreaking debut album. She started in 78, but she only had the chance to release her first record in 1992. And some of her most famous songs are Silent All These Years, God, and Cornflake Girl. Her most successful track is A Sort of Fairy Tale, which was released in 2002 in her album Scarlet's Walk. And the final band is Live. It's a great band that also gained notoriety and achieved fame in the 90s. At the time, they had released only 3 studio albums. Throwing Copper, which is their most successful album, was one of them. And it sold an estimated amount of more than 8 million copies worldwide, and they had famous songs like Selling the Drummer, I Alone, and Lightning Crashes. And they're a great band. If you haven't listened to these songs, you should totally go for it. In the past 3 decades, they released 6 more studio albums. The most recent is The Turn in 2024. But nowadays, the only original member of the band in the current lineup is the guitarist Ed Kowalski. I'm not sure if I said his surname that well, but he is the one. Yeah, that's it. If you want to read more, go to description, visit the article I wrote about it. If you want to see more stuff about Eddie Van Halen, there are a lot of other videos about Eddie, a lot of interesting stuff about him, interesting things he said over the years, interesting stories, funny stories with Eddie. You can go to the description. Many videos will be there. Check out the channel, watch other videos, and please subscribe, leave your comment, and like the video because that helps us to reach more people and to continue to talk about rock and roll music here. Thank you for watching, and I see you later.